Hi, it's Katrina. What if the man who invented the modern world saw its end coming? Over a century ago, Nikola Tesla predicted not just our smartphones, but the rise of self-correcting, decision-making artificial intelligence. As the world races to build quantum computers capable of cracking every secret on Earth in minutes, we face an existential digital threat that could usher in chaos. In today's video, we will look at Tesla's long-lost secrets decrypted by modern AI to the space wars already raging in orbit. Hope you're ready. Nikola Tesla's shocking prophecy. In June of the year 1900, while the rest of the world was still marveling at horseless carriages and gas lamps, Nikola Tesla casually dropped a philosophical neutron bomb in the pages of the Century magazine. The essay he published was titled "The Problem of Increasing Human Energy," which sounds like a treatise on better coffee, but quickly spiraled into something far weirder. In it, Tesla predicted the advent of machines with minds of their own. Not metaphorical minds, not poetic minds, literal decision-making, experience-learning, order-following, self-correcting artificial minds. Tesla predicted the rise of AI humanoids, and it still hasn't quite happened yet. Almost, but not quite. In a passage that now reads like the fever dream of a man 120 years ahead of his time, Tesla wrote of an automaton which will have its own mind and be totally independent of any operator, left entirely to itself to perform as if it had intelligence. Those are his words, by the way. He had a very clear vision of the future, and this was before the airplane. Tesla published this paper decades before Alan Turing was born, before robot was even a word, and before Wendy's decided a chatbot was the future of drive-thru orders. And yet, here was Tesla, sitting in his Colorado Springs lab like a Victorian Dr. Strange, calmly describing an age when machines would not only think, but learn, respond, and evolve. How could he have predicted something nobody else saw coming? Except maybe the Greeks. Tesla's vision of the future was no accident. He wasn't guessing. The man had receipts. Tesla had receipts in the form of prototypes. His most famous early demonstration came in 1898, when he unveiled a radio-controlled boat at Madison Square Garden. Onlookers believed he was performing magic, which isn't surprising as this was shortly after the age of P.T. Barnum, and a sucker was still being born every minute. But he wasn't performing magic. Tesla was revealing the blueprint for modern robotics, remote-controlled drones, and according to Joseph Sikorsky of the Tesla Science Center, the earliest conceptual ancestor to what would one day run every computer, smartphone, and evil robot uprising. Tesla called the machine he used to pilot the boat a teleautomaton and described it as having a borrowed mind. I don't think he meant to, but Tesla gave off some eerie foreshadowing of our AI-controlled future. Tesla foresaw not just the power of thinking machines, but the peril. Tesla was so smart that he soon realized that machines might eventually become reflections of humanity, and not in a good way. He didn't name-drop Skynet, but the message was there. Tesla understood the future would involve robots, and he also understood those robots might be our undoing. Oh, and he knew about cell phones too, because this is Tesla we're talking about, and of course he did. Tesla's next big Nostradamus moment came in a 1926 Collier's interview. He predicted a device that would fit in your vest pocket and allow instant face-to-face communication across the globe. Pretty wild, right? Tesla predicted the smartphone, FaceTime, and your TikTok addiction before television even existed. Here's the exact quote: "When wireless is perfectly applied, the whole Earth will be converted into a huge brain." Tesla was looking even further into the future than 2025. If you haven't noticed, the Earth isn't a giant brain yet. Tesla was predicting global Wi-Fi and a global wireless energy grid that anyone, anywhere in the world could tap into at any time. While not reality yet, this one-world Wi-Fi could be real in the next few years. I mean, we are pretty close. Some would argue that we are already there. At the time Tesla made his great prediction, people nodded politely and went back to cranks starting their Model Ts. They thought he was a lunatic. Now, though? Now it sounds like the opening keynote at a Silicon Valley developer conference. Tesla also proposed a wireless energy grid, developed a turbine engine 90% more fuel efficient than anything else on the road, and pioneered alternating current, which powers basically every home appliance. And he pulled it off in his 20s. Tesla created the AC motor in 1882 at the age of 26. His famous Tesla coil came a decade later at age 35. But don't let that get you down. You did laundry, got in your steps, and binged Halloween movies. We can't all predict the future and invent new forms of power. Tesla had much more that he wanted to do. He dreamed of illuminating the sky with electricity, powering cities without wires, and turning the entire planet into one pulsating thought machine. The man was building the Internet of Things in a century when the most exciting thing was indoor plumbing, something that still hasn't caught on everywhere. In 2025, Tesla's vision of the robotic future is closer than ever. His ghostly eyebrow probably twitches every time a Wendy's AI chatbot asks, "Would you like fries with that?" Silicon Valley is racing to make chatbots sound more human than humans. Elon Musk, who bought the name Tesla for $75,000 from a guy in Sacramento, is now warning we might be building AI systems we can't control. In fact, thousands of scientists have called for a pause in AI development, fearful that at some point it's going to get away from human hands and no one will be able to stop the rise of the machines. It's worth remembering that Nikola Tesla's machines were supposed to be helpful, efficient, and benevolent extensions of human will, but with logic and speed that humans can't match. Today's AI is being trained on everything from Wikipedia to Reddit threads and asked to make moral decisions based on data scraped from the internet's darkest cesspools. A borrowed mind indeed, and not one that you want in control of anything important. Whatever the practical possibilities of such an achievement, Tesla wrote in the 1890s, it will mark the beginning of a new epoch in mechanics. Well, guys, that era has arrived. Whether it looks more like Star Trek or Black Mirror, that depends entirely on who's programming the mind we're borrowing. Now, here's a little something strange, and I cannot confirm if any of it is true. Let me be completely clear. The information I'm about to give you has been doing the rounds online, and I can't confirm if it's real or just another ChatGPT story cycling through social media. But here it is for you. In December 2024, Google's quantum AI, dubbed Willow, quietly cracked one of history's strangest unsolved puzzles, the full decoding of Nikola Tesla's long-lost personal notebooks. Written in a half-mad fusion of poetic metaphor, dead languages, and fractal equations, the journals had long eluded human interpretation. But Willow, powered by a 72-qubit superconducting processor, translated chaos into clarity, and what emerged was something terrifying. Among the decoded blueprints was a self-resonating energy amplifier known as the magnifying transmitter that could wirelessly transmit power across continents. Google's quantum algorithms virtually reconstructed the magnifying transmitter, and it worked. The digital model revealed a field coupling effect that bypassed traditional electromagnetic losses, potentially confirming Tesla's century-old claim of global energy without wires. Amazing, right? We could be on the brink of Tesla's one-world energy grid. The AI also deciphered Tesla's encrypted metaphors. Turns out phrases like the breath of the void and the handshake of the ether weren't just poetic musings. They were literal references to zero-point energy fields in Tesla's notes, describing techniques eerily similar to modern vacuum fluctuation models. 7 methods of energy extraction were outlined in the decrypted texts. At least 3 aligned with experimental results from Tesla's 1901 Colorado Springs tests. And it's all got me wondering how one man could be this smart. And then there's the weapon. Tesla's fabled death ray, long dismissed as sci-fi, wasn't a ray at all. Google's decryption software showed that it was a directed particle accelerator concept capable of delivering pinpoint energy blasts over hundreds of miles. The blueprints in the notes described advanced collimation and dynamic field focusing far beyond 1940s tech, and far beyond my understanding, that's for sure. Tragically, Tesla died in 1943 alone and deeply paranoid. The end of his life was not great. Then, within hours of his passing, the FBI seized his belongings. They basically robbed the guy while his corpse was still warm. Many of the documents taken by the FBI remained classified for over 70 years, which is clearly a bummer because the notes had the potential to kickstart a technological revolution. Only now, thanks to quantum AI, is the veil lifting, proving that Tesla was ahead of quantum mechanics, vacuum physics, and even astrophysical resonance theory. Willow's simulations suggest his frequencies may correspond with fast radio bursts and unexplained gravitational wave anomalies. All these years later, and Nikola Tesla is more relevant than ever. The man whose ideas were so big he was labeled a hopeless dreamer might yet reshape the world he left behind. New quantum echoes 13,000 times faster than anything. Somewhere between the ghost of Schrodinger's cat and the sweaty hum of a data center, Google has quietly unleashed what may be its most disruptive quantum breakthrough yet, an algorithm called quantum echoes. It doesn't just beat the world's fastest supercomputer, it humiliates it, like that one time at beach volleyball you don't like to talk about anymore. Quantum echoes can solve complex simulations 13,000 times faster on a 105-qubit chip named Willow as casually as you'd flip a pancake. Let me just quickly say that AI doesn't currently exist. All this AI talk is really LLM talk. It's all large language models. If anyone wants real AI someday, it's going to require quantum computing. Because let me tell you, quantum computing blows normal computing out of the water. It's like comparing a brand new iPhone to a Tamagotchi. But things have been shaky. Lots of headlines have promised quantum breakthroughs, but none have been confirmed until now for one really specific problem. Quantum computing takes another quantum computer to confirm its calculations. And Google just pulled that off. Let me try to break this down for you bit by bit so we all understand. Quantum echoes is inspired by sonar, like submarines pinging around in the Mariana Trench. Scientists launch a quantum signal into a qubit array, perturb one qubit like a butterfly flapping its wings, and then reverse the whole operation to hear what echoes back. It's just like echolocation, only what comes out isn't just a wave, it's constructive interference, the phenomenon where overlapping quantum states amplify each other. The result is a precise, real-time measurement of atomic interactions inside molecules. I know I said I'd break this down in a way we can understand, but the science is really complicated. I'll try to give you an idea of how this whole thing ties together. In one test, they used the algorithm to probe two complex molecules. Quantum echoes discovered previously unknown atomic structures, showcasing functional quantum chemistry for the first time. And Google is just getting started. To prove this wasn't a fluke, Google deployed the algorithm against a decade's worth of simulated hacking, what they call red teaming. The idea was to stress test the algorithm until it broke, but it didn't break. Scott Aronson, chair of computer science at UT Austin and unofficial referee of all things quantum, was extremely impressed. And so am I, of course. The cool thing about quantum computing is obviously that it's fast. Let me try to explain just how fast it can be. Imagine you are a computer. You have a problem that you need to solve, so you are troubleshooting. You try one thing, it doesn't work. You try another thing, that doesn't work. There are 10,000 possible solutions to the problem, and modern computers have to check each solution one at a time. Quantum computing checks all 10,000 possible solutions at once, making it literally 10,000 times faster. Another way of looking at it is that a normal computer trying to crack a code has to try every number one at a time. 111, 112, 113, that sort of thing. Quantum computing can try 1111 through 99999 in the blink of an eye. It is, without a doubt, the future of computing. And it's on its way now. Google's long game is that within 5 years, they expect to solve problems in material science, drug discovery, and molecular physics that classical computers simply can't touch. But they'll need to scale from 100 qubits to millions of qubits. And that is an Everest-sized challenge still ahead. Until then, quantum echoes has at least given the world something new. It's the biggest peer-verifiable quantum victory yet, as important as watching the first plane fly. The future is going to be nuts. How nuts? Let's just say your password is about to be irrelevant. The most immediate threat of quantum computing is the death of encryption as we know it. Right now, your bank account, your medical records, your cloud storage, your government tax information, even your grandma's Wi-Fi router is protected by cryptographic standards that would take classical computers billions of years to crack. There's a reason that passwords need to have letters, numbers, and symbols in them these days. It makes cracking them extremely difficult. Remember the 111, 112 example? Now throw in 26 letters and a bunch of random symbols, and it's practically impossible to hack a code. Unless you've got a quantum computer with a reliable algorithm and a powerful enough processor, that same job might take less than 2 minutes. When quantum computing becomes mainstream, passwords will simply cease to be important. The scarier part is that nation-states are likely already harvesting encrypted data, not because they can crack it today, but because they know they will be able to tomorrow. In Moscow, Beijing, Washington, the phrase "steal now, decrypt later" is catching on like wildfire. So while Google, IBM, and Microsoft trumpet the arrival of quantum chips that can solve impossible problems 13,000 times faster than supercomputers, very few are asking the important questions. Like, what happens when these machines are applied to fragile global systems? Global financial instability could hit the world as algorithms become obsolete overnight. Undetectable cyber attacks could plague society as quantum-assisted AI probes every vulnerability faster than any firewall can react. Meaning that one day, a quantum computer is going to boot up, someone is going to scrape cash out of every bank account, and the whole world will fall into instant chaos. And who even knows what crazy nonsense will come from merging quantum with AI? Corporations and governments are sprinting toward quantum right now like it's the last chopper out of a burning world. They know something that we don't, and that no one else outside their boardrooms know. There is IBM's new 156-qubit system. Google's got their new Willow chip. Microsoft's electron-dancing Majorana processor looks promising. Each new attempt at perfecting quantum is faster, scarier, and less controllable than the last. And at some point, it's going to reach exponential growth. And none of this is regulated. There's no Geneva Convention for quantum warfare, no unified cybersecurity defense initiative, no international watchdog, just a fragmented race by nerds and competing companies to build a machine that could collapse the digital infrastructure of modern civilization like a house of cards in a wind tunnel. Sure, quantum computing holds stunning promise. If used correctly, it could cure diseases, model complex ecosystems, probe the darkest corners of the universe, confirm dark matter, and make things like cloning and resurrecting extinct animals possible. But it also holds existential peril. The very same machine that could solve climate change could also manipulate elections. The same algorithm that finds a cancer cure could also generate untraceable bioweapons that kill billions. It truly is a double-edged sword. And unlike classical computers, quantum machines do not operate in predictable linear logic. They are probabilistic, meaning they are almost alien. And that means control is always just out of reach. Once you turn on a real quantum computer, no one knows what will happen. Although a machine takeover seems like silly nonsense right now, I mean, we've all used ChatGPT, and I think none of us are worried about it taking over the world. It's not off the table. Quantum computing could be the thing that finally kicks off the robot uprising. Or it might just kick us back to the Stone Age by destroying all of our technology. I guess we just have to wait and see. Let me know your predictions in the comments. Space wars are now. If I told you the space wars are coming, you'd think I was talking about a new science fiction movie. But forget a galaxy far, far away. The space wars are real, and they have already begun here on Earth. Or rather, above Earth, in the atmosphere. Despite the soothing hum of international cooperation and public-facing space ventures, the vacuum beyond our atmosphere is now a theater of constant, low-intensity warfare. And most people have no idea what's happening up there. The adversaries are China and Russia, and their target is the US and allied space infrastructure. This isn't about future threats or hypothetical orbital dogfights. It's happening now, every single day, above your head. Both Beijing and Moscow have systematically rejected the illusion that space is a sanctuary. Instead, they are treating it as a strategic battleground, a high ground from which modern wars will be won or lost. And judging by their current actions, they are not merely preparing for that battle. They have already fired the opening salvos. Think about it. If you control orbit and can build a satellite system of laser weapons, you can destroy any target on the planet with no resistance. Owning orbit is owning Earth. And as nations are coming to realize this, they are putting everything into space warfare. It all started back in 2007. China made its intentions disturbingly clear when it destroyed one of its own defunct satellites with an ASAT missile, creating a deadly cloud of orbital debris and launching a new era of space weaponization. Since then, Beijing's space doctrine has gone from testing the waters to fielding a full-blown arsenal. They are now equipped with satellite jammers, directed energy weapons, and the truly sci-fi nightmare fuel known as the Fractional Orbital Bombardment Systems, or FOBs. FOBs is absolutely terrifying. Imagine a warhead parked in orbit that can drop from above with no predictable trajectory. That's a nuclear bomb in space that can be dropped on a whim to hit any target without any sort of advanced notice. It's all about superiority. In World War II, it was all about air superiority. In the next one, it will be about who owns orbit. And right now, it's no one. Orbit is crowded, and the Chinese military have to contend with American satellite constellations like Starlink. And who can forget the Russians? Russia, never one to be outdone in the Cold War sequel, is also building its celestial arsenal. Its Noodle missile system can obliterate low Earth satellites, and its growing suite of electronic warfare tools are engineered to jam, spoof, or blind Western satellites. What's happening right now, behind closed doors and high up in the sky, is an arms race unlike anything we've seen before on this planet. There was something similar in the 1940s with big powers fighting to develop the atomic bomb first. Now, armies are fighting to develop technology that will win them the skies. What really sets off alarm bells is the unconfirmed reporting of Russian efforts to deploy nuclear weapons in orbit. If they pull it off, things might change very quickly. Mutually assured destruction isn't as much of a deterrent when you're the only one with the nukes in space. If these rumors prove true, it's a violation of the 1967 Outer Space Treaty that prohibits nukes in orbit, as well as a slow-motion Cuban Missile Crisis in space. I can't predict what will happen, but I don't think it's going to be good. Western officials may scoff at the Russians and their old, outdated, crumbling land military, but their doctrine is chillingly clear. They want to establish escalation dominance in space first, so that Earth becomes a secondary battlefield. Russia is like, if we can't win war here, let's fight in space. And the war is raging. U.S. Space Command has admitted that the U.S. is under daily low-threshold attacks in space. These aren't kinetic strikes, meaning no missiles are fired. Instead, the U.S. must deal with persistent radar jamming, reconnaissance, and battlefield prep maneuvers from both China and Russia. The two countries are probing American satellites, testing response times, experimenting with co-orbital stalking maneuvers, and rehearsing the disruption of launch windows. In strategic terms, the chessboard is already in full play. Russia and China are all in and understand the importance of space supremacy. Meanwhile, the White House slashed NASA's budget this year, basically throwing up the white flag without putting up a fight. The brutal truth is that while other nations develop weapons to blind, disable, or destroy satellites, the U.S. Space Force, the supposed sentinel of America's orbital frontier, remains woefully underarmed. Space Force is 5 years old and still lacks a robust suite of both kinetic and non-kinetic weapons. The strategy so far has been, something. Only recently have senior Space Force leaders began pushing for escalation dominance of their own. But words don't stop missiles, and PowerPoint presentations don't jam jammers. The time for democratic optimism has passed. China and Russia don't respect America's space posture because, to put it bluntly, there isn't one. This is a war being fought in the shadows of orbit. It's quiet, persistent, and few people know it exists. If it escalates beyond its current gray zone, the consequences will not be confined to the stars. U.S. command and control, GPS, banking, military comms, and even civilian infrastructure could be crippled in moments when bombs start falling from the heavens. Hopefully, it never comes to this, but it might, so maybe invest in a fallout bunker again. Déjà vu finally solved. I'm willing to bet that you have experienced deja vu at least some point in your life. Most, if not all people have had deja vu. But until now, nobody has ever been able to say with any certainty what the heck it is. The most popular theory has been that it's sort of a brain fart. Some say it's your brain processing the same thing twice, giving a weird feeling that you've done this before. But what if your deja vu isn't just a brain glitch? What if it's a voicemail from the future? According to a growing group of scientists, actual credentialed researchers, not people selling amethyst pyramids on Etsy, no offense, your gut feelings, including deja vu, may be memories that haven't happened yet. The idea sounds absurd, unsettling, and a little too much like a Christopher Nolan subplot. But then again, so did quantum mechanics before it became the foundation of modern physics. Remember when everyone thought that talking pictures were a fad? Okay, well, I don't either because I'm not from the 1920s, but you get my point. What sounds on the surface like classic New Age mysticism repackaged for TED Talks is currently being tested in laboratories, replicated in peer-reviewed studies, and even analyzed by the CIA. Talking about anything paranormal, you just know the CIA is going to show up in some capacity. The agency declassified research in the mid-1990s suggesting that human consciousness might access information outside of linear time. So if that's true, then your intuition might be a primitive kind of time travel. And that is something to get excited about. So if you have a weird feeling when you walk into a room and recognize everything like it's happened before, you're just casually time traveling. Good to know, right? Cognitive neuroscientist Julia Mossbridge is on the case, and she has a PhD. Julia didn't initially set out to prove any kind of psychic phenomena. She stumbled into it. Here's a famous deja vu story. When a girl was only 4 years old, she predicted the future. The little girl woke up and started screaming. She screamed and screamed as if remembering some horrible event. Then, minutes later, she learned that her father had died in a car crash. It was a tragedy she somehow knew was coming. At least that's how the little girl sees it now as a grown adult. Some might say it was a screaming coincidence, like a bad dream. But the girl who experienced it firmly believes she knew what was coming because somehow her mind had time traveled. This is a story that was told to Julia, one of many. Because while Julia has experienced her own bizarre episodes of deja vu, she is a scientist and needs to collect as many examples as she can. She has heard zillions of these stories from people who also want an explanation to what the heck is going on with this phenomenon. Julia Mossbridge herself has experienced what she calls memories from the future since childhood. As a scientist, she started logging her dreams and cross-checking them with later events. She experienced deja vu so much that she logged her experiences in a journal and then looked out for similar experiences later in life. The results of this unique personal study unsettled Julia enough that she made it into her life's work. Today, as Senior Distinguished Fellow in Human Potential at the Center for the Future Mind, she is one of the few researchers trying to quantify what mystics have been obsessed with for centuries. After years of study, debate, tests, interviews, and everything else under the sun, Julia is now convinced that consciousness can step outside the clock. In other words, human consciousness can time travel. It's not hard to understand precognition, Mossbridge says. It's just hard to believe. The problem, she argues, is that science itself has an emotional blind spot. It fears. Julia claims that most scientists are too afraid that the universe might be running on stranger rules than any of us are comfortable admitting. Rules that bend everything science is supposed to stand for. All right, now here comes Dean Radin, parapsychologist, quantum theorist, and professional pain in the establishment's butt. In the 1990s, while working at the University of Nevada, Radin ran a now infamous experiment in which subjects were wired to EEG machines and then shown random images. Some were serene and others were horrifying. But it wasn't about the images, it was about the reaction. And what Radin's tests showed was so insane that no one believed the results. The test subjects' brains reacted 5 seconds before the disturbing images appeared. Not the nice images, only the disturbing ones. which seems to suggest that human physiology can anticipate the future, but only if it's highly emotional or extremely disturbing. And yes, this test was repeated, and Radin's results were replicated. The test went the exact same way over 30 times when conducted by independent researchers. Statistically speaking, that shouldn't happen unless something very real is at work. When you test something and get the same results over and over, that's called science. When 30 different scientists test something and the results are the same every time, that's called proof. So naturally, the scientific world completely ignored Radin's findings, not because the science was fake, but because they weren't prepared to deal with the truth. But guess who was? The CIA. That's who. The CIA quietly declassified its own similar research, confirming Radin's findings were statistically significant. Even the Pentagon's remote viewing programs flirted with the same impossible conclusion. Everyone confirmed that consciousness, under the right conditions, can see into the future. This isn't really technology, but it's kind of a good fit because all of this is new to me and blowing my mind. But if the evidence exists that human minds house time machines, why isn't this mainstream science? Julia Mossberg has a theory, and it's 2 words long: institutional fear. Precognition doesn't just bend time, it breaks modern human worldviews. People fear the unknown, Julia said. They fear that things aren't the way they appear to be. So even in the scientific community, people are scared of things they don't understand or things that seem paranormal. An especially bad habit in academia right now is physicists who cling to linear time like priests to doctrine. But time isn't linear, is it? Time is a construct humans created to make sense of the rising sun and changing seasons. The idea of human consciousness reaching beyond our physical brains is something we've been talking about for many thousands of years. From Tibetan oracles to Amazonian shamans, cultures have long treated déjà vu and precognition as healthy abilities. Radin even noted that ancient societies ritualized déjà vu with meditation, fasting, and plant-based hallucinogens like ayahuasca. The ancients understood that something powerful is within our mind, and so they used all methods of loosening the brain's grip on reality to reach it. And that meant funky substances, weird rituals, and spiritual meditation. What they called opening the third eye might have been an ancient attempt to tap into the same nonlinear consciousness, which modern labs are now measuring with EEGs. The next time you walk into a room and have a gut instinct you've been there before, it might be your future self whispering across space-time, nudging you away from the wrong turn or toward the right choice. But how do you know? When déjà vu strikes, do you go with it or excuse yourself from the situation? How are we supposed to know what our future selves want us to do? What are your thoughts on déjà vu? Let me know in the comments. Thanks so much for watching. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell, and I'll see you soon. Bye!